Yeah, let's max the mic. So the rags and all the papers have blown away with my eardrums.
Did you hear that?
No.
No?
What?
Okay.
What?
Dude, I love this car. So if you guys are new to my channel, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoy it, and consider subscribing and hit that bell if you like these kinds of projects. Now, I am looking a little bit more scruffy than usual because I have just been in a wrench marathon for the last few days, getting ready for the finish of this build. And the build is very special because it is my 1995 Toyota Supra SE that I got 2 years ago, actually more than 2 years ago at this point, and it was a shadow of what it is today. This car is amazing, it looks amazing, it sounds amazing, it performs amazingly, and now it is a completely 100% finished product. And I am so proud that this is on my channel and I get to share it with all of you. However, I'm not gonna just show you the finished product. I wanna show you how we got to this point. So I'm gonna take you back in time just a little bit so you can see how this car, this amazing car behind me, came to be. So welcome everyone back to my garage, where behind me you see my Toyota Supra. Now this is not quite finished. We have gone back in time a little bit so you can see what the final process was. But just so you guys get caught up to speed, I'm gonna tell you everything that we did to this car. And when I say we, I mean me and no one else. No one else at all.
Yeah, just you. No help at all.
So this started out life as a 1995 Toyota Supra SE, the special edition, and now we have made it a little bit more special. One of the things that made it really special is the fact that it has one of these, a hardtop. It doesn't have a Targa roof that when you take off the Targa roof, it turns the entire chassis basically into spaghetti. So this is the one you want if you want to have a car that handles well and also that looks a little bit cleaner. I love the way this car looks, and if you notice how this car looks, it has a brand new paint job by Color Recon. It has the OEM white pearl, and they color sanded and buffed it, and it looks fantastic. I mean, they got this thing down to the bare chassis. They took out all the glass, they took out all the doors, the back panels, everything to paint it the way it would be painted from the factory, and it looks amazing. But I really have to give a big shout out to this guy right here. Jared, you know him from Wrench Every Day, our second channel, and also a ton of projects, including this one. So Jared, what do you think of my little Toyota here?
I'm proud of what we've done with it. It started off kind of sad, and it ran and looked terrible, but we've made it a little betterer.
Okay, so
a little betterer.
What exactly did we do to make it a little betterer?
Well, the first thing we did was our first working project, where over a period of 4 days, we took the non-turbo 200,000 mile engine, took it out, replaced the cylinder head with the cylinder head from a twin turbo engine with the variable valve timing, put your nice big spoolie boy, fuel system, converted it to a 6-speed manual, and a whole lot of other stuff, again, in 4 sleepless days. And then we came back and got it tuned with our friends at Induction and Alpha, where it now makes, what, 630 horsepower and...
682.
Oh, I'm sorry, 682.
630? What
oh, you're right.
Baby numbers?
That's about 50 more than we were expecting, so we're doing good.
Yeah, 200,000 miles, dude. So I got 682. Nice. On the internet, that's 1,000.
There's 2 things that are kind of holding it back from being the ultimate street Supra.
What are those 2 things, Jared?
One is the one leg peg, which the rear differential, if you do a burnout or accelerate really hard, it spins one tire. And the scary thing that happens to it with Supras, if you roll on it while rolling, it kind of pulses that power. So you get, just by accelerating, the rear end starts wagging like a dog uncontrollably.
So I'm gonna pretend like the camera is a Supra when it gets into power. So it starts doing this.
Yeah, I've driven a lot, and this one does it worse. I don't know why, but it was unsettling when I stood into it. And two, it has a race clutch from Collins. It does a good job for racing. It does a good job for revving really quickly.
Not so much for actually driving this
and
thing.
Enjoying it.
Yes. So one of the points of this build was, at the end, I would give it away to somebody. And this was a issue because I can't really give a car that drives like this away. Actually, you know what? Let's show the people what I'm talking about here. Let me get in, and I'll show you how bad this clutch is. So hopefully this car starts up.
All right.
I think it needs a new battery.
Yeah.
You can hear that this car sounds pretty good. But once you put the clutch in, it sounds pretty horrible. And I could deal with all that if it wasn't complete, like you have this much of engagement. So you put it into first gear, and like I'm letting off, and that's like, that's it.
It's a really good racing clutch.
It's very, very unforgiving. Now, the pedal pressure itself is fine, which means that whatever clutch we get, it's gonna have to be a twin disc, because a twin disc can hold more power generally, but I definitely don't like the design of this clutch, and the sound of this clutch it sounds like the car's broken. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna change the clutch. You happy about that?
Yeah. And the reason you get more grabbing force with a twin disc and you can have a softer pedal is surface area.
Well, we can get into that when we actually take the clutch out and we can show people.
You think our viewers are visual learners?
I think so.
We can just talk about it now for 5 minutes and then then
don't show it.
Yeah, or we show it again and talk about it 5 minutes
or
more.
Don't. Or we just don't show it.
That'll work. All right, where do you want me to stand?
I mean, you can stand wherever you want. It's gonna get loud over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You ready?
Yeah, let's max the mic. So the rags and all the papers have blown away with my eardrums.
Did you hear that?
No.
No? Okay.
What?
Dude, I love this car. Okay, this is as far as it goes. Awesome. So there's a lot of progress made in not a lot of time. So that is the CD009 transmission. Actually, it's not a CD009. It's like a JK something or other.
Yeah, it's all called a CD009, but there's CD05s and JK3s, and there's a lot of variants. Some are stronger than others. This is a good version.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, it did JK a lot of this because stuff that was supposed to fit didn't fit, and gave us a lot of issues. Did you have some issues sort of off camera?
Oh yeah, the normally when you have a manual transmission, you have a pilot bearing or pilot bushing. The Collins kit uses an aluminum spacer with then a factory Nissan bronze bushing in it.
So let's show people where that's supposed to go.
Yeah, so your pilot bushing and bearings live in the back of your crankshaft, and that's where that very tip of your transmission lives.
Yeah, it just goes.
And if you look on the ground, there's little chunks of aluminum and bronze because I had to beat it out. We had the right tools, the nice, fancy slide hammer bushing removal kit, and I remember when we were putting it together, come out of there, yeah. When we were putting it together, it fought to even fit inside the hole. So getting it back out was not fun, but finally, that's what's left of it. It finally did come out.
With extreme prejudice.
Yeah.
So here is the taken apart transmission, and the Collins kit, the Collins adapter kit, had this, and then you just adapt this to a, what's called a J2 bell housing. This is just an automatic regular bell housing from Toyota. What we're replacing it with is this. So this is the Mazworks adapter with some Grannis Racing goodies installed. And we have a Tilton concentric slave. It is very similar to the concentric slave we have here, but I'm not sure which is newer, this one or this one.
That's the better, newer style. On the back, instead of the Nissan would have a nice bearing plate, but that is built in. This is where the bearings live, your input seals, so that bolts right up with a brand new gasket, and
then we just slap it right into the car, but we're not using the same clutch, are we?
No, we are doing a massive clutch upgrade. It's going to make the engine rev a little slower. It's not going to quite sound like a sport bike, but that compromise is worth it for everything else being improved.
So here's the old clutch, which is tiny. I mean, tiny. Take a look at this thing. It's just the size of my hand. And look at the flywheel. Flywheel is so small. And now take a look at the difference.
The new. So this is substantially heavier. It's going to give us more gripping force, and the benefit of the weight is when you're shifting, it keeps inertia, the engine RPM up. It just, in every aspect, is going to drive better and smoother.
Well, that's the idea.
Right.
So this is a McLeod twin disc. It's an SXT something or other, and it's just 2 discs with a floater plate. Very similar to how it is here, except this is going to be a lot more forgiving and a lot better for daily driving. So
yeah, and the floater plate is fixed on this flywheel setup, so it's going to chatter less where that's a floating center plate.
So can you explain what that means?
Yeah, we'll take it apart on this since we don't care. So this is your clutch disc, and this is a floating plate. So this is what acts like a steel in between your clutch discs.
Right.
And then you'd have your other disc, and then this is your spring pressure plate, which then clamps all of this into your flywheel.
Correct.
So again, when you have a non-fixed, this can chatter back and forth against there, and it makes a lot of that rattling sound that you hear on a twin disc when you have the clutch pedal put in. It's just everything, again, just chattering, moving around. Also, when we started this car, it had that really awful kind of tingy sound, like it sounded like something's broken. And this is an automatic flex plate with the ring gear. Because it's such a tiny clutch assembly, you can't have a ring gear attached to it. So this would just flex and rattle and ting around a bunch, whereas this
is an actual flywheel.
Yeah, with the ring gear built in. Again, it's substantially heavier, but that slight compromise for every other improvement.
I was told about this clutch by Jordan Martin from DriveWire, the guy from Hyperdrive. He works with AMS. He has like this crazy Huracan that does 6 seconds in the quarter mile. And he was like, in my Supra, I use this clutch. So it makes sense that we would use that. So now all we gotta do is put this on there and put that on there, and then somehow that all goes into here, and then we can finish the car. You like how I'm tickling the car right now?
Yeah. I mean, it reminds me of when the camera's off. Not that.
What? Now here we have a completely modified transmission that is ready to go in the car. And it really wasn't that hard, but there was an extra bit of fabrication modification, taking off 3/8 of an inch off the input shaft right here and chamfering it a little bit with a grinding disc. But I made sure that everything was torqued to spec, everything had some thread sealant in there because I didn't know which of these actually needed thread sealant, so I figured every bolt can get it. Now, if you look at this, it actually fits really, really nicely, and it fits a little bit better than the old one. So hopefully this will all work as intended. And Jared is actually friends with the guy who designed this entire kit, and he got some important information that we don't actually need to adjust this. So this comes adjusted, pre-adjusted, so we don't have to change anything, and we just slap it in the car and it should work.
Yeah, it should work. Yeah, you just make sure that we did the bris on the input shaft like you described, and
did the bris?
Yeah, isn't that what it's called?
I didn't know you were Jewish.
I'm not, but you should be a man of culture and understand other things.
1 and a 2 and a bris. So we also, well, Jared did some work underneath here and put on the new clutch, and that's looking mighty fine, dude. Oh, it's yeah, just don't slip, don't smash your head on anything. This is looking really, really cool. So what do these numbers mean?
That is a serial number with McLeod. Mm-hmm. The marking that is most important when you're installing them is a twin disc or a multi-disc, 3-disc, 4-disc, or these balance marks. If you look, there's the painted line, and also a painted line on the flywheel. Mm-hmm. When all of these assemblies are put together, they balance so it doesn't vibrate your engine. And if I put this together wrong, it could shake and no longer be in balance, which would be unfortunate for your engine's bearings. So
okay, so did we put the other one on correctly?
The small one? It's so little it doesn't affect anything. There's no weight to it. You have to have mass.
There's a joke in there. So Jared asked me very, very adamantly that he wanted to do things to my rear end, and I don't really understand what he meant by that, but apparently it's this.
Yeah.
So this is the rear differential. This is called a pumpkin, and then this is called, well, garbage now. This is an open differential, and this is a limited slip differential. And now Jared's going to tell you the differences between them in 30 seconds or less. Go.
30 seconds or less. All right, so an open differential, when power is applied, this is a half shaft, it can go out one wheel only. So this is what's going to cause you, if you do a burnout, to spin only one tire. When you have, I'm not going to lock it in, but when you have a limited slip, the wheels are locked together. We can't spin that easily. So when you apply power, it's going to allow both wheels to spin. And the reason this is called a differential, it's all in this unit, and it's called the differential to allow rear wheels to turn at different speeds. So it's differential.
Yes.
It's very exciting.
Not a same-ential.
Same. That was bad. And that's also a lot.
All right, while Jared finishes up that, I'm going to do something I wanted to do for a very long time, and that is install a front lip. Now, I got this Sabon carbon fiber front lip, and it was a pretty penny, and it fits really nicely, or at least that's what I'm told. So it doesn't come with any sort of mounting holes or anything. So what I'm gonna need to do is, if you look underneath, there are mounting holes for a stock lip, and all I have to do is transfer those here. But I think there's an easier way to do it because I still have the lip that came with the car, and I may have spoken too soon because the mounting holes for this lip are completely different from anything on here. You see that they protrude a little bit over here, they stand proud, and here there's not even anything that can attach. So we're going to have to do a sort of custom fitment to this thing that's supposed to be OEM fitment. But I already took the bumper off and I didn't show it to you. So here's that now. So now that the bumper is out, I don't have to go upside down to get all these mounting holes lined up. I'm just going to put this on here, drill a few holes, put some double-sided tape, and hopefully there's going to be no panel gaps because panel gaps are for losers. Guys, I can't tell you what this car means to me. I can't tell you what finishing this car means to me because this has been the culmination of 2 years of work. When I first got this car, it was a 1995 SE naturally aspirated model that made 120 horsepower at the wheels, but now it is a complete showstopper. This thing is fantastic from top to bottom, inside and out. Now I do have to thank a lot of people, but no one is more deserving of that thanks than... Hey.
Hi.
Hi, it's Jared. Of course, Jared. So Jared is a very big reason why you see this on the channel the way it is. But this car is also the reason you see Jared on the channel, because this was our first build, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was our first build together, and the reason we met is I randomly decided to sell a part I had for 2 years the moment you decided to build the Supra, and we were talking, and I said, well, let's build it right, and came down and we didn't sleep for 4 days and did a whole lot in 4 days. That went really well, and you decided to have me back for more and more, and now I'm looking to move to Florida so we can build more amazing cars like this.
Most people think that you just get a Supra and then you bolt on some parts and then boom, you have like 1 billion horsepower. And it's not exactly like that, but it's not exactly not like that either.
I mean, you can just bolt a bunch of parts on and have 1 billion horsepower, and then it blows up. And then you can take the care so you can make that power all the time. So starting with the engine, we did the twin turbo 2JZ GTE VVTi head, variable valve timing head. That's what you bought from me, which allows us to run all of the good turbo parts, the good turbo manifolds, the good turbo intake. So we pulled the original 5-speed transmission and engine assembly out. This is the cylinder head. We changed this top part. We put the beautiful precision turbo on it.
That is not going to be the filter that's going to live with the car. I just put this on just so I don't get like rocks in the turbo. This is just a aftermarket filter that I got from Advance. I am going to build a little intake that goes right here and looks a little bit better.
We've got the forward-facing twin turbo intake manifold, and then just all of the accessories to go with it. You did a great job of painting the valve covers. Initially, we were in the time crunch, so we weren't going to, but you really wanted to paint them in the intake or the spark plug cover, and that turned out amazing. We've got the nice breathing catch can in the corner. When you have the big turbo engines, they make a lot of pressure in the crankcase, and if you don't vent it properly, you blow out your oil seals, which we replaced all of the oil seals while we had it apart. Everyone thought we were crazy for not doing bearings or rings or anything like that on the engine, which you don't have to. It's a Toyota and it was well cared for, and proof positive, we made lots of power on the dyno, and it's still incredibly happy.
Yes, that's really interesting because this car has 200,000 miles, and when I say the engine has 200,000 miles, the bottom end of this engine has not been touched. The only thing we did was do a new oil pump, and we resealed everything to make sure it's not leaking anything, because it was leaking a bit. But we just changed the cylinder head and cleaned up the pistons. We didn't put new rings in it. We didn't put new bearings in it. We still rocking the 200,000 mile bottom end, and it is extremely happy.
And then we've got the flex fuel, which this is a content analyzer. So flex fuel means you can run anything from standard pump gas to ethanol, and it measures the percentage in between, so you don't have to worry about switching between two maps. When John Alpha at Induction Performance tuned our AEM Infinity for it, he set it up with a calibration that any percentage in between, it's going to correct for it and change the boost levels, the fueling, and the ignition timing to match it. So you're not worried about not being able to make it, not having a laptop to change a map. It does all of that.
Yeah, so, and that is through the AEM Infinity 5 ECU. It's a complete standalone, and it does really cool stuff. Also, on the electronic side, we have a tweaked performance harness, and this was all plug and play. We just plugged in everything we needed. We have more sensors, meaning that we have a boost control sensor, not sensor, it's a boost control solenoid. We have an air intake temp sensor right there. We have various sensors all over the car, Mishimoto radiator, Greddy intercooler, and a bunch of other parts that I can probably name right now. So we have a Koenig decagram set of wheels. We have spacers in the front, a really big Brembo brake set from a Jeep Cherokee SRT8, front and rear, with custom adapters, and we have ISF rotors, Lexus ISF rotors. We have a carbon fiber rear TRD style spoiler, and we have a CX Racing exhaust. We also have BC Racing, you can see the sticker right there, BC Racing DS series coilovers, and of course our Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires. I would not put anything else on a performance car. And we have the awesome paint job done by Color Recon. They took this car down to the bare metal, took all the doors, all the windows off, and did a really good restoration. Considering this car had 200,000 miles, it really does look like new, and I personally love the way this car looks. I'm a fan of white cars, and this car is It's a looker. It's definitely a looker, especially now. In addition, we have a real TRD strut tower brace and a bunch of new stuff underneath. New injectors and new alternator, and basically everything here is new other than the chassis, which has 200,000 miles on it, but you can't really tell. Now, right now, I am going to thank Jared. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I want to drive this thing. I want to drive it really, really bad.
Well, you should. It's good to drive. Want me to close the hood? Or are you going to go up Fast and the Furious with the hood since you don't have a target top?
No, I'm just going to drive with the hood up and then see how long it stays there.
Okay.
Don't slam it! Okay, so this is something I've been looking forward to for a very, very long time. Now, you're going to have to excuse me. This isn't 100% done. It's more like 99.9% done because I do have the speaker grill for this, and I didn't have the clips. So the clips are on their way. I just have to put that in, and then the door panel will be complete, and the interior will be complete. But I think you can probably forgive me for that because this thing runs really well. Oh, yes. So that nasty chattering that was very present in the old clutch is completely gone with the new clutch, and we also have a COS 1.5-way limited slip differential. What that means essentially is that right now I have to baby it for the next 500 to 1,000 miles, and that means no going into boost. Well, no going into boost much. I can go into a little bit of boost, and I just have to do a lot of stop and go, which means that this is going to be my daily driver for about the next month. And another thing is I just filled this up with premium, which means that it's not on the E85 tune anymore. This is going to be the pump gas tune, which is around 500 bhp, which is fine for me. It's not 800, but 500 is plenty. And I just want to make sure that everything is as it should be, and this car is, well, as sorted as I wanted it to be. I wanted this car to be the best Supra on YouTube, not just for its looks, because I think it looks amazing, but because of its versatility and the fact that this is a car for all occasions. This could be an awesome daily driver. It'll do great on the track, and it'll do great for spirited driving, which I'm very, very happy to do. So let's get this on the road. It's not going to be a crazy drive where I'm doing burnouts and popping and crackling and all of that. This is just a shakedown run. I'm not even going to go past 4,000 RPM if I can help it, because that clutch was very expensive, and I want to make sure it's bed in correctly, because afterwards, that's when it can take all the power. Oh, wow. Now, you guys can't feel this, but the clutch pedal is a little bit stiffer than what it was before, but there's no noise at all. It doesn't sound like let's put that into first. Very smooth, and let's see how engagement is. Perfectly fine. Minimal slippage. Also, the rear end is a limited slip differential. It's a clutch type, so that also needs some time to get bed in, because otherwise it's a little bit chattery. Oh, and the car drives straight. It's not going off into any one side. It's very smooth. I'm going over some bumps, and like a lot of Japanese cars of this era, it's not crashing over the bumps because I have that BC Racing DS suspension. Oh, that shifter is really good. It's like that rifle bolt that you really want. This is the car that I wanted for a very long time. A turbo Supra that just makes all the right noises and makes all the power. Well, not exactly right now, but it will in time. A little bit. Oh, yes! I can't thank the companies and people that helped me in this build enough, that let me do this and share it with all of you. First and foremost, Jared, because he is very knowledgeable in what he does. He knows exactly what to put and where to put it in these cars. Now we're kind of stopped in traffic, which would be a problem in that other clutch, but for this, no problem at all. Very, very smooth. It's like OEM. This is awesome. So I'd like to thank Alpha from Induction. He did an awesome job tuning this car to 30 PSI. We made 682 horsepower at the rear wheels on a 200,000 mile engine. Yes! And a big thanks to Color Recon for making this car look completely fantastic. Looks like a brand new car, and it drives like a brand new car. Oh yes! I know I'm gushing a bit, but guys, you have to experience this. And actually, I think one of you just might. All right, guys, so what I mean by that is that this car, this exact car that I worked so hard on, is going to be given away. I'm not sure what the terms of that giveaway are going to be, and I'm not sure when that giveaway is going to be. I believe it's probably going to be in the next month or so, because I do need to get some miles on this car just to make sure that everything is working as it should, just like it would on a daily driver, a car you can drive every day with about 800 horsepower. But I am very excited to announce that. I'm very excited to announce that this car is finally done, and I think, in my opinion, my humble opinion, that this is the best Toyota Supra on YouTube, not just in the way it looks, because it looks amazing, but in the fact that it is a very versatile car. It can do whatever you tell it to do, and it's not hard to drive at all. So I'd like to put this up against any other YouTuber that has a Toyota Supra. TJ Hunt, Motion Auto TV, I know they have really cool builds, but honestly, I think this is up there with all of them. I'd like to thank everybody that watched and shared and liked all these videos, because without you, this wouldn't be possible. And I'd like to thank Jared, obviously, MVP all the time, and all the companies that helped me build this car the way it is. But until next time, this is me reminding you guys that on cars like these that have insane transformations over a course of a few years, but they're definitely worth it, you guys need to build it better, and to do that, you got to wrench every day.